G'day guys, Solid here. Hope you're all doing well. It's a beautiful day, so I'm out in the carport to do this video, and I thought I'd dive into the comment section and see how you're all doing. Agro's got a question here. He's saying, hey mate, how you doing? What was the size of the shed? Well, the shed is 6 meters long by 4 meters wide, 3.3 meters at its tallest point, with a 2.7 meter garage door. Interested to know the total cost all up. I'd say it's probably about 19K so far. It's probably going to be north of 20 when I'm done. I've still got to run electricity to the shed. That's going to be awful expensive because I've got to go under the driveway. I also need to seal the floor as well. I'm not sure whether I'll just go with a concrete sealant or epoxy. And I need to, of course, insulate the shed. And the final thing to do after all that is done is get aircon in there as well. So that's going to take well north of 20 grand. I'd say all in 19K at the moment. You got to consider all the work I had to do to get it in there, council approvals, multiple engineering. I had to get certified builders to do the retaining wall as well. I really have sunk quite a bit of capital into it lately, but it'll be well worth it when it's done. The next comment is from Iron Man Box, and he's saying, how well can a dual sport carry you and a week's worth of camping gear 500 miles to your off-road destination? And to that, I would say really easily. I've been riding off-road for basically a decade now, and I've had a WR250R and a 250L and a DRZ 400, and none of those bikes have had problems carrying my gear with me. And my mates ride 250Ls, WR250Rs, KTM 690s. We all basically ride small dual sports, and we've been camping off the bike, doing multiple trips, thousands and thousands of kilometers out into the middle of nowhere in Australia on pretty rough and tough terrain. And you know how many problems we've had with our subframe? Zero. That's how many. You know why? Because we pack smart and we pack light. We all pay attention to what ultralight hikers are doing. We get that kind of gear that pays attention to being as light but as functional as possible. We're also very, very regimented on what we pack. We don't pack all these extra niceties that we might think we need when we really don't. You've really got to think about what you're packing if you're having problems, because if you can't fit it on a dual sport, in my opinion, you're probably packing too much. Do you think you need a big bike to carry your gear, or are you like me and you pay attention to what you pack, and that means you can take a skinny little bike that's far easier to ride off-road in the hard stuff and make your adventures more interesting? So the next question is from Sebastian, and he's commenting on my boot video that I did recently, asking me what's a good first MX boot. My first MX boot was the O'Neill Rider series of boot. Very, very cheap. I think I picked them up for $150 Australian. They were an older model sitting in the bargain bin. Picked them up, they last me almost 6 years. I only retired them because I decided I felt like an upgrade. They didn't actually fall apart. They lasted me years and years of very hard riding. Tells you how durable they really can be. So that's probably my recommendation if you're wanting to save money, is get something like the O'Neill Rider boot. And if you don't agree with the MX boots after riding them for a while, you didn't lose too much money. If you do have the money, I would go straight to either a pair of Tech 7s by Alpine Stars. Very comfortable, quite easy to walk around in. The other option is what I have, which is the City Crossfire 2s. They're fantastic, absolutely bomb-proof, heaps of protection. They fit me perfectly. They also, I felt, had a little more protection, a little more rigidity. They are harder to walk in, and they do squeak an awful lot. So you look like a bit of a pillock when you walk up to the cafe mid-ride. Everyone else, chuck your experiences down below and try and help Sebastian out. The next comment is from Zen and the Art of Moto Adventure. I hope you're referencing the book by Robert Pirsig, because that is a fantastic read. You've got my attention with your videos. Cheers, mate, that's the intention. Your travels are captivating. Thank you, although I haven't had many travels lately with the new baby. How about revealing your fatigue fighting techniques and fitness maintenance during long rides? Before the baby came along and I was getting plenty of sleep, I would run at least twice a week. I'm not really a great runner. I only do about 4 kilometers with each of those runs, and that's me absolutely done. But I do believe, particularly for off-road riding where it gets very physical, cardio really, really helps. If you've got lots of stamina, it really helps with being able to survive those long rides, particularly multi-day rides where it really is a war of attrition. If you've got good cardio, that really puts you in a good position. At the moment, I'm down to walking, but I do whatever I can when I've got the time. And the other side of it is the strength training. I basically have a little home gym with a bench press, a squat rack, some dumbbells, and basically that's it. It's just free weight training. I focus a lot on core strength because I find that really helps on the bike as well. Being as fit as you can really helps out. It means you can ride further, sometimes faster, and just have more enjoyment. Now, fatigue fighting techniques, Exercise is definitely part of it. The fitter I am, the less fatigued I feel out on the bike. I have definitely noticed that correlation. The other one is riding regularly. If I know I've got a big multi-day trip coming up, I try and get on the bike as much as possible, because that means your brain gets used to taking in all that information when you're on the bike. It also really helps with neck strength as well, because I've made the mistake on going on a few multi-day trips and having a couple of months break before doing that. And I remember my neck getting really sore because it was quite a windy trip. My muscles in my neck had just got a bit lazy because of the break in riding. Fatigue fighting stuff on the bike, it comes down to a few things. Bike choice, that's why I have the 300L behind me, and it's why I sold my DRZ 400, which a lot of people poo-pooed me for. But I found that the type of bike you ride really can increase your fatigue depending on what kind of person you are. Bike choice really helps. Find the bike that makes you less fatigued, because that really is important, particularly on multi-day trips. Fatigue fighting on the trail. Regular breaks are also massively important for fatigue. Stopping, having a snack, a drink of water, keeping up your energy levels, and just chatting about the ride, boosting everyone's energy. It really helps and means you can just go longer and longer. Having some kind of Bluetooth communication on your helmet really helps as well, because it keeps you engaged. You can have conversations on the bike. Now, there are times where I just don't want to chat to anyone. Just turn it off. The other side of that is playing music. That can keep you engaged as well, rather than falling asleep on the bike. So is the standing position best? Is sitting the get-going position? Yep, basically you nailed it there, mate. Sitting on the bike is basically only using the sand to get you going, unless it's absolutely gone pear-shaped, you've got no energy and you've just decided to crawl through with spider legs, then that's perfectly acceptable as long as you get through the terrain. But generally speaking, in the sand, you want to get your bum out of the seat. You want to hang it over the back of the bike as well. So you want your butt towards the rear tire. Keep the weight on the back wheel and off your front wheel so the front can glide across the sand rather than sinking and digging in and throwing you over the handlebars. The other reason to be out of the seat in the sand as well is so that you can grab the bike with your knees, because the bike is going to be moving around and bucking and feeling very uncontrollable in deep sand, and having your legs grabbing the bike on each side and clamping it with your knees allows you to keep that under control a bit and allows you to stay on the bike and maneuver it a whole lot easier as well. So definitely, if you're doing deep sand, mate, get your butt out of the seat as soon as you can. And if it all goes pear-shaped, then sure, put your butt back down and spider leg through. Whatever you got to do to get the job done. I do spider legs all the time. Cheers for the question, mate. So the next comment is from Andrew, and he's saying, so I'm assuming you sold the F700GS. What's the replacement? Yes, I have sold the F700GS. I sold it a long time ago. I bought it in 2013 and I sold it in 2015. Still regret having to do it because it was a fantastic bike. I just found the F800 and the F700 with that tank under the seat. Just the weight displacement was just perfect for an adventure bike, and I just loved it. It was my first big adventure bike, so it'll always hold a special place in my heart. What bike did it turn into? It's hard to remember actually. I kept the WR250R because I had both bikes at the time, and making the decision which to sell, it was easy. The F700GS was way more limited than the WR250R. The 250R could do everything that the 700 could do, but the 700 couldn't do everything the WR could do. So, and then eventually the F700GS turned into a Harley Davidson, if my memory serves me, an Iron 1200. I've had a lot of bikes, so my memory gets a little bit foggy, but I'm pretty sure it turned into a Harley Davidson. Bet you didn't see that one coming. Thanks for sending in all your great questions. It's always great to dive in and see how the community's going. So if you got further questions, just chuck it down in the comment section. Until next time, don't forget to stay shiny side up, and I'll see you in the next one.